Hey, welcome to the show. This is Medspa Marketing Secrets. I'm your host, Matt Coffey. We are bringing you this show from practicebloom.com. That is the agency that I run. We are going to be talking about pay-per-click today, all the little secrets you want to know, things we do behind the scenes. This podcast is dedicated towards looking around how to build a better pay-per-click campaign. We have a very good example here with tens of thousands of dollars of spend per month. We can really get some good data sets here to show how to improve marketing. So stay tuned. This is a great lesson on how to improve marketing, lower costs, and get your med spa to grow faster. All right, here we go.
So let's talk about quality score, because this is something that really has gotten me interested, because I know, as we've found out from and this is quality score goes across everything. It goes ad copy, ad landing page, like the whole thing. Talk a little bit about that so we can, kind of zone in on what impact that has, because this could impact the conversional aspects of pricing from Google, which is interesting.
Yeah, no, it's everything is, and that's how smaller competitors, smaller businesses can compete with larger businesses, because it's based off of the quality factor. So at the end of the day, when you're looking at the campaigns and the quality scores, Google looks at everything from one main word. So when we look at these campaigns, the ads, the websites, the businesses, it all comes down to one single word, which is relevance. And so what Google wants to see is the search that somebody performed, the ad that they see, match and solve the need of the user for what they're searching for? And does the ad explain the benefits of how it's going to solve the user's search? And if they go to the website or landing page, is that also going to talk about how it's going to solve the need of the user that's performing the search? So everything from top to bottom needs to be about providing those benefits and solving the need of the user when they go to Google and search. And when it does that, we're rewarded very significantly as Google tracks all of that. And so when more people are clicking through the ads, when more people are converting, Google looks at it as, hey, this is exactly relevant to what the person's looking for. Here, you're going to get a discount for this. So the quality score, is based off of the amount we're willing to bid, the ad relevance, and then the landing page experience. So it takes into account all of those different factors. Most of the time, from the marketer's perspective, you can really control like the bid, how much you're willing to spend for a click, as well as the ad copy that you put into the ad. But a lot of times, if we don't have access to the landing page or what's happening on the website, it can, hamper the campaigns. Or if we're sending the best qualified people to the pages and they're not converting, then it's just a no-win. So looking at all those factors combined, that's what determines kind of this ranking. And so a 10 out of 10 is going to be something like somebody searches for Coca-Cola, they see an ad for Coca-Cola, and land on a page that talks about how to get Coca-Cola, what that kind of looks like. So when we start to match the keywords up with the right type of hyper-focused ads and landing page experience and everything, that's how we start to increase the scores, which will then decrease the cost. The higher the quality score, the lower the cost. So
what you have to imagine is Google's sort of like telling you, look, if you do the right thing, I'll drop your cost by 1/3, or in some cases even more, right? I would think that you could probably prove this point out, because I'm looking at, Cool Sculpting here, cost for conversions, $140 per lead, which isn't relatively that bad. But then you look at the overall, because that's just one segment, right? And then you look at the overall, like, wow, look at the quality scores are 5, 6, 4 out of 10. How do we fix this to be 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 10s? Because those conversions, when you get down to the bottom, become super expensive, because you're paying through the nose for these clicks.
Yeah, because you hit it exactly right? So, for instance, we got 28 conversions, so the CPA is 147, right? It took 460 clicks to get those, and that was at an average CPC of $9.04. Let's just say that the CPA, or the cost per click, if we had a 10 out of 10, right, and the cost per click is around $6, 460 multiplied by 6, then divided by number of conversions, which is 28. The CPA now goes from $147 to $98, and now we've just decreased the CPA by 50%.
Right. So CPA, cost per acquisition.
Right.
Yeah, and so you look at this, and that means that if you think of them dollars to donuts, so let's say a cool sculpting is $4,000 when you get the procedure done. How many more procedures do you get just by making this adjustment? That's the crazy thing, because now it starts to, rotate a different set of circumstances. So if you've got your cost per acquisition down to $98, let's just say call it 100 from 150, and you were doing, let's say, 10, cool sculpting procedures at 1,500. Now you can do, so if you're doing 10, now you're going to be able to do 15, right? So what's that? That's another 5 times 4,000. It's another $20,000 of revenue just by making adjustments. So this is what people don't understand: the magnification of these errors and omissions that people don't go through. They kind of look at the top level and they don't look at the bottom end. The small hinges swing very, very.
For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and it works with all of these metrics. For every metric you adjust, it's going to affect every single other metric. So you have to understand the entire spider web from top to bottom to know if you make a tweak on one end of the spider web, it's going to affect every other portion of it.
Yeah, well, in this case, the magnification of it, because the fact that these are high velocity, let's just say these are potential, $4,000 procedures. The swinging of the very, very small percentage points of these quality scores make huge differences in the doors of the practitioner in this case.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And then it opens up budgets to be able to do additional things, because you can tap out, right? So they're actually getting relatively capped out in terms of market share for the keywords that we're targeting. So we're targeting very specific keywords. We're capturing 94% of the entire market share of what's being searched for. So getting more of that budget back and making more of that revenue allows us to do more on the awareness side, to maybe drive more people in at the top of the funnel that weren't necessarily aware of us. Because right now these campaigns are only targeting the decision stage where people are actually looking for the specific service. So we can take like CRM uploads and lookalikes and different types of audiences to help create new cookies and new market share, where we're then taking and creating our own market share for these types of searches and different types of keywords and different symptom-based searches and things like that can then bring people in and kind of round everything out.
So what you're kind of saying is that not only from a perspective of the client getting more procedures, but the reinvigoration of discovery, so basically creating demand, is the other piece of this that we're missing, which is that additional revenue beyond more appointments or more consultations based off of this is a single factor of many factors, of which there could be additional demand generated from the savings of building your campaigns better.
Right.
Good. Okay, let's continue.
Cool. So we talked about segmenting those out. Moving on, this is one of my secret tactics. This is a personal preference, and I've proven it out across 10 different verticals. Tablets are garbage. So I exclude tablets, 100% negative bid adjustment on every campaign ever. And I have for the last year and a half. I spent $450, 0 conversions. It never, ever, ever converts. And if it does, it's usually at a ridiculous CPA, and it's just throwing money away.
Well, do you think the person who's using their tablet to do this type of search is probably ineligible in the first place? Because if they're on their phone, that's really where you should be, because they're going to do something. They're kind of like mobile, and they're going to go and walk into a practice, or is it the fact that tablets in general just have poor conversion rates because the conversion structure in the tablet really isn't built into any of our kind of ways that we do things today?
It's good from a discovery standpoint, but not from a close standpoint, right? People aren't submitting lead forms and like closing deals on their tablets. They close deal on a computer if they're, of the right demographic and whatnot. And you see it's even lower on the CPA there. Then people are always converting on mobile. The tablets are really good for people who are like sitting around, not doing much, killing time, looking up stuff.
Who has a tablet? Nobody has it. I don't have a tablet. You know who has a tablet? My grandmother.
My daughter, my 2-year-old daughter, has a little kid tablet.
Yeah. So maybe that's the issue. Yeah, but I like the fact that this really does show the tail of the tape, which is that, even though, although the campaigns of the computers are running better, the cost per click is it's more expensive on the computers, but at the end of the day, the conversions always come through the phone. It's like, this really just says like the whole thing. Now, would you say, okay, let's blend it more to get the cost per conversion to come down? But my question would be, you'd really literally have to find out whether or not those people from the mobiles converted to revenue versus the computers, right? So my thought is that if someone's on their mobile device, they're walking around, they're trying to solve the problem right now, their conversion to a patient is maybe potentially higher. The computer, it's got to go to another segment. They still have to move from there. But again, I guess it could be either way.
There's a revenue tracking piece that, I harp on with every agency and have been for the last year and a half. And one of them has taken like major strides and we're implementing stuff currently, but the rest of them are all like, we'll get to that maybe one day. But, where we have all these leads, like these conversions that are leads, they're running through CallRail, running through, internally managed either landing page system, or we're plugged in through their website, and all of the names and information, phone numbers, emails, all of the contact information is getting plugged into a Google Sheet or a CSV, something like that. And then getting it matched back against the actual patients from the office or something that turned into actual revenue. So figuring out, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, lead time, follow-ups on seeing, what actually turned into revenue and matching that information back. Because then you can do different things where we can understand like true value, where this is like the super, so somebody already assigned some value here, so they must have done something, or somebody did something. Use the value currency from analytics. Okay, so they have something in there where, if they didn't have this, you can go in and you can set a value for the conversion action. So if we know that it takes 100 conversions to get, 10,000 revenue or whatever, we just divide it out once we get that data back, and then we could say each conversion action is worth $100. So that really starts to help AdWords know how much money we can try to make and how much the value is worth, and helps feed the algorithms.
Well, I mean, look, you could get real revenue volume based off of timing sequences of the lead coming through and then putting it into a system, then pulling it back. I mean, that's what Wicked Reports does, right? They take whenever that IP address clicks on and starts the conversation, the attribution is now recorded where it came from, and then you go, okay, great, tie it back to the CRM. The CRM has the attribution, the signal where it came from, and then they use physical per second timing to figure out if that, as long as you put the revenue that you deducted from the client into the last mile, which is the hardest part of all, which is actually getting someone to physically put in, we just sold the customer, let's put it in the system. You could track physical revenue, and some people do this. Like some of these pest control guys that are super like anal, they'll do it. But I haven't found anybody in the med spa world that will do it because there's such a velocity that people just don't have time to do it. But our system is pretty robust enough to be able to put predictive analysis through some of this stuff, which is that as they said, like at least get an average.
Nice, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things, the minor things, come from adjusting, like taking up tablets and then figuring out like day parting as a strategy, right? So we have hours, so they're showing ads at all days and times, but if we were to run a report on time day, this shows the hour of the day and breaks down the performance for the whole account, which we can add a filter. And then we can see, so we see that at 5 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m. are our highest like CPA times of the day, right? So we would want to downbid and figure out how to like reduce cost there. We spent $534 and got one conversion. CPA was like 518. This is for the last 30 days. So these are like bad times to be marketing potentially because of like the cost. And so this is how we make like these small minor tweaks, running these reports, doing this analysis to determine
Look at
what's
that
good, what's bad.
conversion. Look at the conversion number. Go down to the, if you go down to like it says hour 22. Well,
Yep.
not that one. Yeah, that one. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, what?
10 p.m.
It's like, put all the money in right now. You need to be 100% impression sure for sure at 22, which is whatever.
10 p.m.
Yeah, the people are buying right then. They're like, done from work. They just looked in the mirror.
In their bed, they're on their phone, goofing off, looking at stuff, catching up, figuring out what the hell they want to do with their life.
So here's the golden hour, right? The golden hour is I'm sitting in my bed looking at my belly. Damn, I got to get some weight removed.
Yeah, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, like really interesting. I mean, these are the things that if you think about it, I get it, because the problem is at 3 o'clock when I'm just trying to screw around on work and I'm trying to do like, see if this place is open, blah, blah, blah. And then my boss puts my shoulder and I close the window, right?
Yeah, right.
So, you lose that value, and it's amazing. Could you do the cost per conversion by hour?
So looks like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
lowest, then 7 p.m., then 11 p.m., then 8 a.m.,
Yeah.
midnight, 1 a.m., 10 p.m.
Yeah, we get it. So let's reverse the other way, because that's the question I have: is what's the most expensive?
Yeah, 5 p.m., then 3.
Isn't that amazing? So it's a 5x difference of cost per conversion between that. That's just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's screaming for bid adjustment. I mean, it's screaming bloody murder for. I mean, what's this amount to spend in that category?
All the stuff this is all the stuff I do on the daily that I'm looking at and targeting and adjusting and tweaking.
But it's funny how the drop off is pretty interesting, right? So there's only out of those. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, almost 10 conversions, right? But they're all in that space. And
Let's look at sample size. Let's look at a bigger sample size, right? Let's look at all time for the campaign since they started it. Because you have to cross-reference.
Oh, absolutely. I was just saying that those hours represent only a small percentage of the conversions, but take up a large bulk of the cost per lead.
When you already had the table.
There's a lot of data. Well, you got some meat on this bone, right? I mean, gets you some good information to start to do the evaluation of time frames and day parting, even day parting, hour parting, right?
Yeah, day part. Yeah, exactly. So 8 a.m., 3 a.m., 7 a.m., 5 a.m., 1 a.m.
Yeah. Well, let's go the other direction and see where the bad boys are. See if they're still consistent.
So noon.
Yeah.
And actually, it's kind of funny looking at it 11 p.m. Actually, if we look at all time, that can't be right.
Yeah, as I said, I think you have a very short window here.
Oh, it didn't. This was supposed to be time.
You went reverse.
It's the end point.
Yeah.
I got so confused. There we go.
Yeah, there's your conversion. Okay, as I said, and the cost per conversion has gone up so significantly. I think that's because of the Google basically needing to make it shorter.
1, 2, and 3 a.m. are the lowest.
Yeah.
7, 11, 4 a.m., 10 p.m., and then highest 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. 3 p.m.
Yeah, so it said 3 p.m. keeps popping up again. All right, so we kind of get it. I mean, there's obvious, significance there. Just stuff to look at, and then obviously that could also be seasonally adjusted for maybe when things are brighter outside, and the whole thing could change.
Yeah, as they're going into summer, everybody wants to get their beach bodies and stuff. So there's like lots of those factors that all come into play when determining like where to bid, when to bid, what to bid. And I mean, let me see if I can find this thing here. Hopefully this thing is working. So temperature, I test it first. So.
Well, I think we kind of get it. So you don't need to go too deep into the other side of the coin here, but
I was gonna really quickly wanted to show you something that we programmed. So, what city are you in?
I'm in a very small city in New Jersey called Ridgefield Park.
Is it Richfield?
Ridgefield Park, yeah.
Richfield.
RIDG, as in Ridge.
Oh, Ridge.
RIDG Field, yeah. Park.
Boom. So we have created this thing where we're programming where we download by hour the weather, and we can set up like programming to adjust bids and campaign performance based off of the weather.
So obviously there's a lot of significance to that for especially people who are in that industry where their weather would have an impact, but I guess it would impact a lot of people from do you run it heavier as you get into the engagement of, let's say, like people who are looking for something close by that they can walk to? I guess it would be an interesting bid strategy, right?
Yeah, there's all kinds of different neat little programming stuff you can do, especially if seasonality due to weather is an impact on the overall business. Where like as it gets warmer, more people want to go outside, and more people in this arena that they're trying to target are looking at their image. So more people want to go outside when it's nicer out. So you're going to want to spend more because more people are probably going to be looking or
Right.
more self-conscious about their image, as it progresses into the nicer times. So just little weird things like that we look at and that we're trying to figure out and program, just to give you some insight from some of the stuff that we do. And then, we have demographic data too. So age, gender, household income, we can set adjustments on all this stuff, like target the rich people, get rid of the poor people. As terrible as it sometimes sounds, it's, there's a market, there's stuff that people just either can't afford or we shouldn't be marketing towards.
Well, that's a good question. And if you could repeat this as templates that you could just stand up pretty quickly, that would be super helpful for a lot of our med spas, because this is what we run into is, ineligible customers coming to papers.
Yeah, tire kickers.
Well, it's beyond tire kickers, because what these guys will want is they want people who actually can do care credit as well. So it's just people without jobs. You know what I mean? That's their biggest problem.
A lot of unknown data. Unfortunately, sometimes it's, like this, for instance, it's a lot of unknown. So the primary bulk of the conversions came from the unknown sector where we don't have the data, which possibly could just be because of the location or a number of factors. So this isn't always necessarily going to be available. And, you mentioned making a template. It's important to make a template based off of text performance, so ad groups, ad text, keywords, things like that, and build out templates that way, but not building out templates that affect the actual devices, schedule, audiences, all that stuff, because everything is uniquely specific to the demographics of the location of the area. So depending on the people that live in the area, it's going to be different every single different city that we're targeting.
Have you found call-only ads to be ineffective now?
There's a glitch with them that Google is refusing to acknowledge openly, and it pisses me off. So I'm going to show you something neat, and this is because I know things so far beyond when you look at quality score, right? So you have 2.8, all stuff that relevance. So the main components too is it takes into account your expected click-through rate, the relevance of the ad, and the landing page experience, right? So if we look at call-only ad campaigns, they're search campaigns, but the user, it's for mobile only, and when they click on the phone number of the ad, it calls the business. So there's never a landing page ever hit. So within a month of running a call-only campaign, you're automatically going to get docked and get below average and get penalized on the landing page experience column, because nobody ever goes to a landing page from a call-only campaign. They just call the business. So the click results in an instant bounce because it never hits a landing page. So they immediately get docked. So eventually the quality scores tank and you end up paying 300% more per click for call-only campaigns. So it's a great scam for Google to make a lot of money off people that don't know what the hell they're doing. But it's a pain in the ass for us who know all the inside stuff.
Is anybody doing text-only campaigns too?
I mean, this is text only. Oh, you're talking about text message?
Yeah.
No, you can't really do that. That's under the message extension itself,
Yep.
which this functionality goes away in 11 days. So Google is actually sunsetting this feature.
I'm just surprised.
Be able to do text message.
That's surprising. I guess it didn't work out, huh?
I think it was a nice concept, and then it just didn't hit as much as they wanted it to. So now they're testing. We don't have it in this account particularly, but there's a beta that's out now on some of the accounts for the lead form extension.
Yeah.
So you can actually add a lead form right from the SERP attached to the ad itself.
Yeah, I've heard that that's coming. That might work. So
part of it depends on the people setting up the stuff too. If people are setting the stuff up and don't know what the hell they're doing and set it up crappy, and then everybody starts trying to use it from a user experience and it wasn't set up right, and then the business isn't responding, then it's a terrible experience. So even if it has great implications, it could be really valuable for some businesses. If the mass public doesn't know what they're doing and sets it up wrong, or the business never responds or texts people back or responds to the leads, then it's just a poor service, essentially, from Google's eyes.
So in this question I have is, and this was asking, all these offers are the same. Cool sculpting from $89 a month. Cool sculpting for $1,100 discount. Blah, 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 blah. They're all the same. From an A/B testing variant, I would think you'd want to have at least a secondary offer to test out which one would win out,
And yes and no. It would have to go kind of month over month, maybe. You mostly be testing the different ways of phrasing it inside of here. So this is good. They have some different ads and stuff, but they're missing out on the responsive. So you need a responsive ad now. So the typical format per ad group is you want 2 expanded text ads and then 1 responsive ad now.
Yep.
And having it all fully built out to maximize all of the functions here, where there's 15 headlines you can have. You need to have all of these in there because this does all of the testing for you. So it actually saves quite a few months of testing where you can get a lot done with that responsive format. But yeah, if you're going to test offers, it's good to run it on a month over month basis where you can actually review the results in an easy to interpret manner, where we do month over month. Or if you're doing that, you would set up 2 similar ad groups or in the same ad group, and then we have programming that you can do with here where we can set up variations, and we can build in a A/B test specifically into here where
just that first headline is the only one I'm really concerned about, which is it's try some other dollar value to see if it converts better, because to them is 89 the number? I mean, who knew that number works? What?
Right. No, you're exactly right. And then ad customizers, right? So are you guys familiar with ad customizers?
Yep.
So keyword insertion and then the countdown timers and okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm just curious on why, how they settled on $89 a month. I know what it is because that's the strategy within Care Credit, because they're basically, but I'm wondering if is that the number that people go, oh, that's the number that I figured it out, or is it the number that just basically the care credit suggested? Or I mean, like I always wonder where we get these numbers from, because what if it's $69 a month and it's just based over more months or whatever, and you get
Or
200.
first month free. Get your first month free, and then 89 after that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we'd have to talk to them about, where they're getting these numbers. And the big challenge that we face in this industry is that people just copy everybody else. Like, oh, well, it's working over there. They're doing it, so we'll just do it. And I'm like, why?
That's funny. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Rob and duplicate. You hear that all the time.
Well, the funny thing is what we found in this particular industry is that branding, because CoolSculpting is such a big brand, branding is more important. So you see how it says freeze fat away at the top?
Yep.
You really have to push the brand there, because people don't, what's that? They get scared. They go, oh, this isn't, what I was looking for. So you have to be careful about the whole way that you position this stuff. And I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. I mean, there's obviously things that I think are missing from this landing page that we're going to help them with. But I think that what I see from a lot of this is what you just said, which is that they're just stealing whatever they saw out there and reformatting it. I would love to see at the end of the day how many of these converted, as opposed to converted to real sales, meaning the $89 a month, did that convert from a care credit perspective into a real deal? Or was the $1,100 off, or what we're seeing today, which is $1,100 plus an additional $1,000 off for a free skin tightening. So it's $2,200 off or $2,100 off. Now someone sees some big numbers and then they click, and then those people convert because they know, well, if I'm getting $2,000 off, like, I don't know, numbers seem to be manipulative to some degree. For some people, they tend to go towards big numbers because they see like, oh, that's just a bigger deal. And then they can work out, the real self stuff, or not real self, care credit stuff at the back end. Something to consider.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And the more we test and the more we're able to like have that flexibility and leeway, is the better they can get the campaigns performing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I always think about like the dialogue that I've had so many times with so many different clients, and everybody sort of in this space, especially in CoolSculpting, they literally just have no idea. They're like, well, it's 25% off, it's this, that. Like, they don't come up with any good conclusions based off of real data. Like, they don't necessarily measure anything. They just go with it and just run it. I'm not saying that this is the particular case here. Maybe the 89 is the winner, but until we test it, who knows?
Yeah, doing what they're doing because they think it's what they're supposed to do, and then not actually auditing it afterwards.
Correct. And I get it. That's our job, by the way. That's why, that's the whole thing.
Yes, indeed, it is our work. Thanks for listening to this podcast show, and we will wrap it up here by saying, if you need any help, go to practicebloom.com and just click on a Get Started button, and we can help you with your med spa. Thank you again for listening to this, listener, and we'll see you in the next episode.